distinctly one time, because Westerners are very lackadaisical and very, people are like hanging, he's even a teaching, and people are like hanging up against a pillar and like pointing their feet towards them, which is very disgraceful in Tibetan and Asian culture to put your feet towards anybody, and wearing shorts. And he was like, last night I watched on the TV the Holy Father, the Pope, and there were many, many bishops or then cardinals, and they say, please bless me, Holy Father, very nicely. Not like you, just like, like no respect, you barbarians, and so I don't think we should really be that strict, but
respect.
Yeah, you just, often, like I would rather be at home surfing the web or listening to loud music, and I'm here only because my teachers were kind enough to share a little bit of Dharma. Although I'm not knowledgeable, I will attempt to articulate some things that they've shared with me, and probably all over again for you, because you probably heard this before. So, but I have no virtue. The reason why I've taken robes is because I now have some serious issues, and for those people that have serious issues, best you take a very serious, strict, so the way I look at it is if you take lay person vows, that's not too confrontational with your mental afflictions. You can sort of still do a lot of things the old way, and then you take monastic vows, and then you take bodhisattva vows, and then you take monastic ordination, where it's just really extremely anal with all your deeds, and it's like you can maybe hope for 2/3, like maybe I'll be able to keep 2/3 of those, maybe a third, like a hopeful, maybe you worry about the people that have robes, because the people who don't, chances are they don't need them. People who wear robes, they wear robes for a purpose. They've taken monastic vows because they know they have some serious issues and they want to clean them up. Okay, let's go to the text. It's always better that way. No problem. I don't know if I really answered your question, but so Mula Majamaka Karika, the root wisdom of the middle way. The middle way. There are many understandings in the sutras about what the middle way is. Some people in the practice side of Buddhism, it's the middle way between the extreme of indulgence and abstinence. Here in this particular text, it has absolutely nothing to do with that. It has, in a philosophical sense, the extreme between non-existence and real permanence or existence, or nihilism and eternalism. And so the text starts out with Master Nagarjuna praising Lord Buddha. It says, I prostrate to the one who teaches that whatever is dependently arisen does not arise, does not cease, is not permanent, is not extinct, does not come, does not go, and is neither one thing nor different things. I prostrate to the perfect Buddha, the supreme of all who speak, who completely dissolves all fabrications and teaches peace. Does not arise, does not cease. He's speaking about emptiness, particularly dependent origination. The person who spoke the incomparable teachings on dependent origination should be praised. Dependent origination of phenomenon, the emptiness of phenomenon, are a positive and a negative way of looking at the same phenomenon. What is a Buddha? A Buddha is an omniscient being. How did Lord Buddha get there? The Buddha has collected all the wisdoms and annihilated all the bad deeds and mental affliction, obstacles to omniscience. And he is a perfected being, in a sense. In a Buddhist context, he is the goal. That's why he is praised. Generally at the beginning of Buddhist texts, if it's a text on wisdom, you can maybe get a praise to Shakyamuni Buddha, or sometimes you can get a praise to Lord Manjushri, who is the Manju. Manju is wisdom, Shri is great. Lord Manjushri is the embodiment of the Buddhist understanding of the middle way prasangika view of emptiness. Tsongkhapa, who wrote a very vast commentary on this text called The Ocean of Reasoning, during his meditations on emptiness actually had a vision of Lord Manjushri, who stabbed him through the heart with a really big sword and imparted to him emptiness teachings. And before they debate in a monastery, they'll often go dee 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 dee. It's they believe that it's going to make them smarter. It's like a shortened of the Oma Rapatsanan Di. It's the mantra for Manjushri. So Manjushri is the protectorate, the saint of the middle way understanding of emptiness. There are many different philosophical schools of emptiness. I will not go through them all here. It would give me a really big headache because it's very complicated. If you are a really good Buddhist teacher, you can flawlessly expound the various understandings of emptiness, the different schools, to people of different capacities. I'm not there yet. So, okay. Let's see, I think we went over who is prostrated. And who is worthy of being prostrated. Not from self, not from other, nor from both, nor without cause. Things do not arise at any place and at any time. This is the four extremes. The point of the four extremes is that causation appears to happen a certain way. They were obsessed, pundits were obsessed in how is phenomenon functioning around me, and how can I take this really lousy world and transform it into a paradise. If you're a Muslim, you pray, and when you die, you go to a paradise with many virgins and mountains of rice pilaf and all these great things. In a Buddhist context, heaven, hell, these things are not some place to go to, you're not running away from hell, you're not going to heaven. They're based on perception. And here, this concise view of causation from self, other, both, or neither are supposed to point to the different schools that argued how phenomena were functioning around you, like the self-causation with the classic Indian Samkhya school, and they believe that in a cause there must be a potential of the effect in a cause. If a cause is going, like if they often use the seed and a sprout, if the seed gives cause to a sprout, there must be a similar potential in that seed that then becomes the sprout. There are many problems with that, because if what Lord Buddha argued against is that seed or that potential cannot exist inherently, because for that, what would be the purpose of something that was come from itself to then arise again? If something exists, it would then, a self arising from a self, arising from a self, it's kind of dumb. Arisal from other assumes that both that particular phenomenon and the other phenomenon has inherent existence. So if they have inherent existence, they have no connection with each other. Things are dependent on another. They do not hold any. For a thing to hold some kind of inherent existence, it would have to be unchanging. Dependent phenomenon change. It's not the point really, though, that production from other, production from neither. These are logical reasonings. Actual emptiness is beyond conceptualization. But the point here is that beyond the cause from self, other, both, or neither, or causelessly, the point is that all of this phenomenon cannot function unless you